posting on Twitter a series of direct messages from December he says are between him and Nets star Kevin Durant. Following a TNT interview, Rapaport criticized Durant on Twitter, which led to an expletive-laden exchange in which Durant, according to Rapaport, sent the following messages via Instagram DM to Rapaport. Quote, "I swear I'm gonna spit in your face when I see you, you dirty expletive. You expletive for even caring how I do an interview. All you do is expletive other men for attention. How expletive are you? Your wife doesn't even respect your expletive." Durant tweeted an apology of sorts yesterday saying, "Me and Mike talk crazier than this on the regular, and today he's pissed. My bad, Mike. Damn." Stephen A., what should the NBA and the Nets do about KD's comments?
Well, I mean, listen, you a little fine or whatever the case may be. It was just words. Unfortunately, you don't like it. Words do matter. I certainly don't mean to come across as if they don't. But if you're the National Basketball Association, Kevin Durant getting into a private, heated exchange with somebody not associated with the NBA and Michael Rapaport, who's a well-known figure, is not the crime of the century. It's certainly not something that's condonable. It shouldn't be applauded in any way. But again, it's not the crime of the century. And I want to reiterate what I said earlier. Michael Rapaport, you violated all kinds of street rules. You don't sit up there and take private DMs and reveal it to the public like that. You just don't do that. That was between you and Kevin Durant, and he had no business publicizing that. So Michael Rapaport was wrong in that regard. Kevin Durant was wrong because it was a bit excessive. It was definitely threatening. It was unnecessary. It came across as a bit too truculent and belligerent, and it brings to mind the level of sensitivity that Kevin Durant has religiously been accused of having. He is considered amongst the many to have the thinnest skin of any superstar we've ever seen, and that's saying a lot. And when you look at it from that perspective, let's take into account some of the things that Michael Rapaport was highlighting. The argument originally took place when Kevin Durant showed up on the air being interviewed by Charles Barkley in TNT. And Kevin Durant gave one-word answers, very terse, very aloof and standoffish. And you do find yourself looking at these guys and saying, what the hell are you so mad about? What are you so angry about? It's the game of basketball. That's what we're talking about here. What's the matter with you? Now, they'll say it's their livelihood. It's their livelihood. I'll tell you what standing rule that I have, Molly. I appreciate and embrace any level of ultra sensitivity from an athlete who's trying to get the paper. You in a contract here, you trying to get paid, and somebody could compromise your quality of life. I'm down for that. I understand. So there needs to be a heightened level of a sensitivity if you could potentially get in the way of somebody making their bag. I get all of that. But you got cats that sign for $150, $200+ million. Kevin Durant's missed 26 games. I understand it was a torn Achilles. We understand and appreciate the fact that he tried to come back and play in the NBA Finals. But last year when you were out the entire season, you got paid. This year you've already missed 25 games. You're still getting paid. Got your commercials and everything else. What the hell are you mad about? Why are you looking at everybody and acting that way? Why are you on social media arguing with people half your age and they ain't saying that, people that you don't know, people that haven't done anything or whatever the case may be? What is all of that about? And you do find yourself asking these questions, and then you talk to people around the league who cover the NBA, and they will tell you that's, not James Harden, because everybody's been saying that he's been great this year. But when it comes specifically to KD and Kyrie, a lot of people in the media, a lot of people with various organizations have talked about how unlikable they are. Now, I don't happen to agree with that. Kevin Durant and I don't really talk. Kyrie and I damn sure don't really talk, or whatever the case. I respect the hell out of both of them. They're both superstars, and they're both box office, and they're both champions. We want to see them play. And so when you're talking about them playing or lack thereof, the fact that they could get on an interview and just give terse responses, or like Kyrie announced before the season that you're not talking to the media, that there are things more important than basketball. Well, we all have things more important than basketball going on in our lives. But basketball is the escape that you signed on to help to provide to all of us, to relieve us of the stress and ails that really invade our lives. And you signed on for it in this particular instance with a Kyrie at the price of 4 years, $140 million. And so when you look at it from that perspective and you get paid that exorbitant amount of money and you have 6 months of the year off anyway, then to be off during the season is bad enough. But if you're Kevin Durant and you appear to have attitude as well, there are people that are saying, what's wrong with you? And those are the kind of things that they have to pay attention to and to make sure that they guard against. Because let me tell you something. Once upon a time, years and years ago, before the advent of social media, guys were begging folks to talk about basketball because you have folks in the media getting all into cats' personal lives. You went out to a nightclub, you went out to a casino, you did this or that. They were writing that stuff. Wasn't me, but they were writing that stuff. And these guys was like, wait a minute, the game is fine. It's all this other stuff that we have a problem with. Well, now we got a new generation of players that are getting paid more money than guys from previous generations ever got paid. And they actually have a problem with you talking to them about basketball. What possible excuse can you have for having a problem with somebody talking to you about a job you signed up for to perform in front of millions? How could you possibly have a problem with folks asking you basketball questions? That's what they're going to have to answer as times move ahead, particularly considering the times that we're living in now, COVID-19, a pandemic, over 40 million people were furloughed, over 20 plus million people lost their jobs permanently. You've got the economy struggling because of all of those things. People ain't got time to watch, look, and listen to cats that don't have those concerns, to act like we're bothering them because we're talking to them about a game they signed up to play and perform for publicly. That's what they're going to have to realize.
Yeah, I find this conversation very interesting on a lot of levels. There's a couple parts here, Stephen A. I remember when I first joined the show back in 2015, and I came from NFL Network, and obviously it's this big stage. It's you and Skip, and I'm getting all these kind of crazy comments, and I'm taking over for Carrie Champion, who did an exceptional job, and she still continues to in her new arenas. But I remember Skip saying to me, Molly, don't even look at the comments. Why are you going to look at the comments? Do you need somebody to validate you either way? Do you need someone to tell you you're great? Or do you need someone to tell you that you're not, to work harder? And I really try to stick by that. I really try not to look at it because it doesn't do me any good. The only thing I can say, so I look at somebody like Kevin Durant and I say, you know, you're a multimillionaire. You're one of the best in the game. Why do you even deal with these people? Why do you even bother? That's why I said the quote about the Eagles and the pigeons. The only thing I can think of is if he does it, if he thinks it's fun or to motivate himself. But I truly don't understand it.
Well, let me try to explain it for you, Molly. And please, to the producers, leave us up on the split screen so I can see Molly when I make this explanation. On far too many occasions, people go beyond the lines. As your husband, Jalen Rose, has highlighted on numerous occasions, very astutely, I might add, because he's a guy that knows. There are many, many occasions where people in the media go beyond the lines and get into business that is not their own. Like, for example, I have a standard rule, and I've been a reporter for over 27 years. And I have a standard rule. The only time your personal life is my business is when you make it my business because you end up in the police blotters. If it ain't in the police blotters, all right, and you're not breaking the law, I got nothing to say. It's none of my business. But your game is my business because you've decided to perform that at a public forum, and I get to chronicle and judge accordingly because that all assists in promoting and marketing the sport. Which is why the media has free passes to games and the customer has to pay because they know we're assistants in promoting the brand that is the NFL, the NBA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when people cross those lines, they have a point. But the problem with the players in this generation, the advent of social media has removed them from feeling compelled to ingratiate themselves with conduits, with messengers that disseminate a message to the masses. They feel they don't need us because they got followers and they can tweet and they can sit up there and say what they want to say without answering questions, without being probed or anything like that. And as a result, they're basically saying, bump y'all, not all of them, because there's a lot of guys, like, for example, we talk about LeBron James all the time. Let's give respect where respect is due. LeBron, for the most part, is a complete class act that fulfills his obligations admirably. Kobe Bryant did it. Dwayne Wade did it. I just got on Russell Westbrook. But Russell Westbrook talks to the media after games and stuff like that. He fulfills his obligation. James Harden does it. He came from Houston, went to Brooklyn. He stood right in front of the media and answered their questions. It's just that you've got too many guys that haven't ingratiated themselves with anybody that are messengers. So they don't want to talk to you, but then they want to get upset at the message that you sent that they got from others when they refuse to talk to you. So they don't accept enough culpability in that regard, and that's when they hurt themselves.
Stephen A., let me say this really quickly, and to our producers, James Dunn, let me just say this really quickly. Actually, one of the last conversations I had with Kobe Bryant was about social media, and he had said, I would have never been on social media as a player because it would have been too much of a distraction. The last thing I want to say really quickly, I wish you had time to respond. Where it gets tricky with Michael Rapaport, we have all had private conversations that we would not be proud of if they came to light. I have, you have, everybody, whether it's social media, whether it's over text. The problem with these is the homophobic, misogynistic, that language, that's where the Nets might have to deal with it because that did come to light and he did use that offensive language. And that's where this particular incident gets really tricky. We got to leave it there, though, because I also want to get back to the Russell Westbrook conversation that we were having a little bit earlier. So in case anybody's just joining us, when we come back,